same as if you said attack the doctor.
Chair, we do not have any.
Good morning, Chair. I have no testifiers here today.
Okay, thank you. Ka'u?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. We have no testifiers for your committee this morning.
Okay, thank you. Kohala?
Good morning, Chair. I have no testifiers for your committee this morning.
Thank you. And in Hilo? No. Okay, we have no testifiers. Okay, so I'm going to be closing the testimony. So, Mr. Clerk, Communication 402.
Communication 402, 2016 Hawaii State Association of Counties Legislative Package Timeline from Councilmember Dennis Fresh Onishi, dated July 22, 2015.
A motion to file and close Communication 402.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Mr. Paleka, second by Mr. Kanuha. Okay, any discussions? Okay, Ms. Wille?
Yeah, I have just a concern how we are sort of handling the HSAC, and it'll affect how I vote on this or participate, and whether it's HSAC and NACO and all of these. And, you know, I just want to ask you a question, Fresh, as our representative here and board. You know, sort of, you know, I was concerned at the, you know, at the NACO meeting where you basically opposed, this is, I put through Communication 402.1, my home rule resolution, and it was unanimously reproved there. And then based on your statements, you got...
Okay, what are you talking about, your communication?
Communication 402.1. And just, I just feel
okay, members,
that...
do you folks have that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that you or whoever, not just necessarily you, should be sort of representing us and the will of the committee and not necessarily what you as an individual would say. And, you know, we did a home rule resolution here a while ago, and you voted against that. Anyway, you know, I feel that it's important for you or whoever is here to represent us as a group and not act individually.
Mr. Clark,
yeah,
wouldn't we have to read in our, get the Communication 402 onto the floor?
Not necessarily. If it's related to the item that's on the floor, then we're okay with that. It's good to recognize what it is, though, for the record.
Because I don't think if she's talking about NACO, that's totally different to what HSAC, what we're doing here.
If that's your determination as chair that it's an unrelated item, then that's your determination. Then the council can deal with that, or the committee. But if it's related, then you guys can discuss it freely.
Okay, so
Okay.
maybe we should have her
Explain.
make a motion.
I don't think a motion is necessary, but just to explain,
Explain.
maybe just a brief summary of the contents of the communication 402.1.
The contents of the communication are from a NACO, and this was a resolution that I put into NACO, their national meeting. It was a proposed resolution to protect county home rule, and it was unanimously passed by the Intergovernmental Affairs Steering Committee, some 30, 40 people, and then it went to the Board of Directors of NACO, and my council member
Excuse me.
was, let me
excuse
just finish
Actually,
my statement.
I'm the chair of this.
Opposed it.
I'm going to call fast recess.
Okay.
You said 30 to 40. It says only 20.
Okay.
Okay, so let's call in this meeting back to order, and so you can clarify the numbers that you
Yeah,
had stated.
approved. I see it. It's 24-3 by that group, and then went to the Board of Directors, and Council Member Onishi stood up and opposed it, and said that
Excuse me, I got to clarify again. I postponed it and sent it back to committee, so I didn't
Yeah.
oppose it for more discussion. Okay? So let's continue.
and opposed its passage at that meeting. Okay? That's what I'm saying. And my concern is just whether it's here or you're representing a NACO, we're representing not what the council had supported. And this was basically the proposed policy was NACO supports county home rule unless contrary to an express federal or state prohibition. County home rule should be respected as the will of the local population, and legislation reducing the home rule authority of counties, including but not limited to zoning and land use, must be opposed.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, now we're going way off of subject of what we're talking about, the HSAC package.
If that's your determination
Yes.
that this communication is not related to the timeline, then that's your determination.
and I feel, Ms. Wille, you should put in another communication to discuss this separately compared to what we're talking about HSAC right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you like one more minute to just
Okay.
summarize on
I
this.
will then do that in a separate communication for discussion, but I just want to understand why I'm going to vote against this and vote against basically all of the HSAC things from here on until this is resolved.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Kanuha.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this the same timeline that we had that is coming up every single year, the same process?
Yes, it is.
Is there any point that this process is going to change? Because you know how we come about these, these dates and we submit everything, and then the deadline to approve, and then, the HSAC committee approves it December 11th. But kind of by that time, you know how the whole timing works with the legislature. Almost in December already, it's almost too late, kind of.
Well, if you give me like a couple minutes, I can explain
Okay,
all
yeah.
that. Okay,
I just
so
wanna, make sure
if
I'm-
members were at the HSAC conference, I had a discussion on the floor during the general session about this. And why we had the discussion was because we had Majority Leader Scott Psyche right there. And I asked him about the timeline. And he had mentioned that we should be getting any legislation to our House, Senate, or to the to the Senate or to the House, like maybe in September. So then I had told the committee members that we have to change this because our timeline is not good, but they didn't want to listen. And so that's why we have to follow this. And that's why we're here today listening to this. But yes, I agree with you. And I tried to do it at executive and at the general meeting, but they didn't want to follow this. And that was true advice from House Rep Psyche.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Mr.
Continue,
Onishi. And
Mr. Kanuha.
that's kind of why I wanted to give you that opportunity, because I remember you talking about that up there, and it wasn't looking good.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, when you have a representative, one of the most powerful ones in the House, telling us that you need to get in legislation by September and you're not listening to them, that just blows my mind, you know. So that's just the comments that I wanted to make about that one. So thank you.
Okay, thank Ms. David.
Yes, good morning. Just need a clarification. So I'm looking at this timeline, Chair, and in order for us to meet the September 11th, we really are under a time constraint in getting things before this council.
Correct.
So we need to be working backwards from September 11th in order to determine what our meetings, how many meetings we're going to have in order, if we wanted to submit something by September 11th. So it kind of makes it a little critical
Correct.
in getting things. This is August already, so okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah, so after hearing Council Chair Kanuha and hearing you also, is it, I mean, what do you recommend? Because if the timeline is not good and HSAC didn't want to listen to what even the, Mr. Psyche, Representative Psyche had to say, I mean, why should we approve this timeline? Yeah, can you recommend?
Well, I would say we do approve it because then that's how the process was. And then hopefully next year we can convince them that they need to change this process, right? Because it's already too late to do it now. And that's why at the general meeting I had explained, right, and hoping that they would realize that they need to change this because of what Rep. Psyche had mentioned, right? But they wanted to continue doing the same thing.
So my, I guess I'm kind of, I don't know what my decision would be or what I'm voting yet, because do I kind of respect Representative Psyche and vote against this and say, hey, let's send a message. Representative Psyche said this timeline would not work.
Right.
Or do I vote for it and say, well, that's okay because we're just going to do it anyway? Or do I do it because we respect our HSAC process and hopefully they will listen to us next year? So I'm kind of,
Well,
can you?
I would well, I understand what you're saying. But if we vote it down, because you need all 4 counties to approve it, if we vote it down, then there's not going to be an HSAC
Any
package
chance?
at all.
Okay, so it's better to have some chance than no chance at all.
Correct.
So I agree with that.
Right.
So thank you for
Yeah.
helping me with
Yeah.
my
Okay.
decision. Aloha, thanks.
Okay. Any other discussions? Ms. Eoff.
Thank you, Chair. So what would be the deadline for this council to put forth any proposed legislation to be included in the package?
Well, as like Ms. David mentioned, you got to look back at September 11 being the deadline to have the proposals from each county going to the HSAC package, so going to the executive committee. So you got to move backwards and see what is the latest time you can get them on our council to get it approved.
Yeah,
But
I don't have a calendar in front
But
of me
so
right now.
that's why, but at the general meeting, when this was mentioned and this is what they were going to go, you had to start from the general meeting already, start thinking what legislation you would want to be put on in the package, right? Because right now, to me, it's kind of like late in the game already, right? And I don't know when we received this, but after June 30th meeting. So, so time-wise, we didn't have too much time. So basically, like, when at the general meeting you hear about this, you hear about the timeline, then you gotta start thinking already in your mind what bills or what would you want to propose that's gonna help the whole state.
We have a deadline coming up August 13th, which would put an item on the agenda for a September 2nd council meeting. I guess we could just go straight to council with one reading, right?
And then through past history, sometimes this timelines has been delayed because other counties couldn't approve it. Like for example, Oahu, they only meet once a month. So if they miss that one meeting in that 1 month, like say this month they miss it, then it's got to go into September, so then it could be pushed back. Yeah. So to me, I would recommend if you have anything to submit it as soon as possible.
Because this council would have to approve it and then transmit it to HSAC prior
Correct.
to December 11th. I mean,
Right.
September 11th,
Right.
according to this time.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Eoff?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay. Any other members? Okay. Hearing or seeing none. All those in favor of closing communication 402, say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Those opposed? Nope.
Okay. So, Ms. Clerk, so we have 7 ayes, 1 no, and 1 excused. Yeah. Okay. We have a motion to adjourn. Okay. Motion by Ms. Poindexter, second by Mr. Kanuha. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Those opposed? Okay. This meeting is adjourned.